There is something about the far north that has always made people go quiet. Welcome to Sleepy Science, and tonight we are going to the ice. If you enjoy drifting off to these slow, gentle journeys through the natural world, a like and a subscribe mean more than you know. And if you'd like to help keep these videos coming, you can find the Sleepy Science Patreon wherever you are right now. And if there is a topic you would love to fall asleep to someday, leave it in the comments below. But for now, let everything else go still. Because we are going somewhere very cold, very quiet, and very far away. Picture a place where the horizon disappears, where the sky and the ground are the same color, both white, both pale, both soft at the edges, where the wind moves slowly enough that you can hear it thinking. This is the Arctic, and somewhere out there, moving across the ice, with a kind of unhurried certainty, is a polar bear. The polar bear is the largest land predator on Earth. Not the largest animal. Whales and elephants hold that title, in their own vast categories. But when it comes to creatures that walk on land and hunt other animals to survive, the polar bear stands at the very top. A fully grown male can weigh as much as 770 kilograms. That is heavier than a grand piano, heavier than a small car. And yet when a polar bear moves across the snow, there is something almost gentle about it. A heaviness that does not crash. A size that does not shout. They are built for a world that would end most other creatures quickly. The Arctic can reach temperatures of -40 degrees or colder. The kind of cold that is not just uncomfortable, but that reaches inside you and begins to make decisions on your behalf. And yet polar bears do not merely survive this cold. They thrive in it. They have been shaped by millions of years of living inside it until the cold became not an enemy, but something more like a home. Their fur is one of the first things people notice, and one of the first things people get slightly wrong. It is not white, or rather, it only appears white, because of the way light bounces around inside it. Each individual hair on a polar bear's body is actually transparent, hollow and clear, like a very fine glass tube. The whiteness you see is the same kind of whiteness you see in snow. Not a pigment, but a scattering of light, bouncing in every direction at once. Under ultraviolet light, polar bear fur appears a very faint purple-black. The bear that looks so brilliantly white in winter sunshine carries a quiet darkness in its coat that most eyes will never see. Beneath that pale fur, the skin itself is black. Deeply, completely black. Not dark grey, not brownish, but black in the way that absorbs light and holds it close. Black skin is remarkable insulation for an Arctic animal. It allows the body to absorb every scrap of warmth from the pale winter sun and hold it like a secret against the cold. Even on days when the sun barely rises above the horizon, even in the weeks of endless dark. A polar bear's body is engineered to keep itself warm, from the inside out. Under the skin, there is fat, a great deal of it. A polar bear, in good health, carries a layer of blubber that can be more than 10 centimeters thick. This fat is not a sign of excess. It is survival made physical. It insulates, it stores energy, it keeps the bear afloat in cold water. In the Arctic, there is no such thing as extra. Everything the polar bear carries has a purpose. Polar bears are classified as marine mammals. This surprises some people. Marine mammals feel like they should live in the sea, like dolphins or seals or walruses. But polar bears earn the title honestly. They spend a great deal of their lives on sea ice, and they are extraordinary swimmers. A polar bear can swim continuously for days. Not hours, days. There are documented cases of polar bears swimming for more than 9 days without stopping, crossing stretches of open ocean that would exhaust most animals within the first few hours. They hold their heads above the water and paddle with their enormous front paws, the back legs trailing and acting as a gentle rudder, moving through the cold water with something that looks very much like patience. Their paws are built for 2 worlds. On ice, the bottom of each paw is covered with small, soft bumps, like the texture of a gentle sponge, that grip the surface and prevent slipping. In water, those same massive paws become paddles, the slightly webbed toes spreading wide, to push against the sea. A polar bear's front paw can be 30 centimeters across. That is roughly the width of a dinner plate. And those paws strike the water with a slow, deliberate rhythm that carries the bear forward through some of the coldest water on the planet, without panic, without hurry, without hesitation. The polar bear's scientific name is Ursus maritimus, maritime bear, bear of the sea. It is a name that suits them better than people sometimes expect. These are not animals that merely tolerate the ocean. They belong to it, in some deep and quiet way, the same way that certain people are drawn back to coastlines, no matter where life takes them. The sea is part of what they are. Polar bears evolved from brown bears, somewhere between 100,000 and 250,000 years ago. In geological time, that is very recent. The dinosaurs were gone 66 million years before polar bears appeared. The Arctic was a different place when the first bears began to change. Colder, more ice-covered, pressing against those brown bear ancestors, and gradually asking different things of them. More fat, paler fur, a comfort with water, a willingness to walk out onto the ice and see what was there. Evolution is a slow conversation between a creature and its world. Polar bears are what happened when that conversation stretched across thousands of generations of cold, dark winters. Interestingly, polar bears and grizzly bears can still interbreed. They are different enough to look like entirely separate animals, and they live in entirely separate worlds. But their genes are still close enough that, when their ranges occasionally overlap, they can produce offspring together. These hybrid animals, sometimes called Pidsley bears or Growler bears, depending on which parent was which, carry the genes of the ice and the genes of the forest in the same body. They are relatively rare, but they have been found in the wild more than once. Something about seeing a creature like that, not quite one thing, not quite another, carrying two worlds inside itself, feels quietly remarkable. The primary prey of the polar bear is the ringed seal. This is where much of their time and much of their patience is spent. Polar bears have developed a hunting technique called still hunting, and it is exactly what it sounds like. They find a breathing hole in the ice, a small, roughly circular opening where seals surface for air, and then they wait. Not for a few minutes, sometimes for hours. They stand completely motionless, above the breathing hole, one paw raised, their head down, their attention entirely focused on the dark water below. And when the seal appears, they strike with a speed that seems impossible for an animal of their size. That stillness, that capacity to hold yourself completely motionless for as long as it takes, is a kind of mastery that most creatures never achieve. A polar bear can smell a seal from almost a kilometer away, and they can detect a seal buried under a meter of snow simply by smelling through the ice. Their sense of smell is estimated to be 100 times more sensitive than a human being's. We think of smell as a minor sense, something pleasant or unpleasant, but not a primary way of understanding the world. For the polar bear, smell is the world. The ice around them is a vast library of information, written in scent, and the polar bear reads it, without effort, without thinking, the way you might read a sign in your own language. When a polar bear hunts, it sometimes covers that black nose with a paw. This is something that has been reported by observers and debated by researchers. The idea is that the nose, the one small dark spot on an otherwise white body, might give the bear away against a field of snow, and that covering it would help conceal the bear completely. Whether this is truly deliberate camouflage or simply a posture the bear takes while listening intently, nobody is entirely certain. But the image of it, a huge white bear holding one great dark paw over its nose, moving quietly toward its quarry across a world of white, stays in the mind long after you have heard it. Polar bears eat a diet that is almost entirely fat. When they catch a seal, they often eat the blubber and skin first, and leave the muscle behind. This sounds selective to the point of wastefulness, but it is not. In the Arctic, fat is the fuel that matters. A polar bear's body has adapted to metabolize fat with remarkable efficiency, to pull energy from it in ways that would cause serious health problems for most other mammals, including us. A diet that high in fat and cholesterol would damage a human heart within years. For a polar bear, it is simply breakfast. Their kidneys are specially adapted too. When a polar bear eats fat, the metabolic process produces water as a byproduct, a kind of internal fresh water supply that allows the bear to stay hydrated without needing to drink. Drinking seawater or eating snow would cost the bear energy to warm and would require extra work from already busy kidneys. So instead, the bear carries its own water supply inside its food. There is something elegant about that. A system so well designed that everything it needs comes from within itself. A well-fed polar bear after a successful hunting season might have stored so much fat that nearly half of its body weight is blubber. That stored energy is what carries them through lean periods, through the long summer months, when the sea ice melts and the seals become nearly impossible to reach. During those months, polar bears on land enter a kind of walking fast. They move slowly. They conserve every possible calorie. They drink water when they can find it, and eat whatever small, opportunistic thing comes their way. Berries, kelp, bird eggs, the occasional unfortunate bird itself. But mostly they wait and wait, patient as stone, patient as the ice they are waiting to return. Female polar bears are much smaller than males. While a large male might weigh 600 or 700 kilograms, an adult female typically weighs somewhere between 150 and 250 kilograms. This size difference between males and females is called sexual dimorphism, and in polar bears it is quite pronounced, one of the largest such differences of any bear species. Standing beside a large male, a female polar bear might seem almost modest in size. But she is still a polar bear. Still enormous, still powerful, still fully capable of surviving in one of the most demanding environments on Earth. Female polar bears give birth in dens. In the late autumn, a pregnant female will dig into a snowdrift or a bank of earth and hollow out a small chamber, just large enough to curl inside, just warm enough to keep the cold from pressing in too hard. She will stay in this den for months, sleeping and waiting and slowly building the life inside her. The cubs are born in midwinter. They arrive tiny, weighing less than a kilogram, roughly the weight of a large apple, and they are born blind and nearly furless, utterly helpless, in the warmest place their mother has been able to make. The inside of a polar bear den can be 20 degrees warmer than the air outside. The snow itself acts as insulation, and the mother's body adds its warmth to the small, enclosed space. The cubs nurse and grow for several months, while their mother rests, not eating, not drinking, living entirely on the fat she stored during the summer and autumn. By the time the family emerges in spring, the mother has gone without food for as long as 8 months. She emerges into the light, thin and tired, but alive, with cubs at her heels, who have never seen the world before. Those cubs will stay with their mother for roughly 2.5 years. During that time, they learn everything they will ever need to know. How to hunt, how to read the ice, how to wait beside a breathing hole, without moving, without losing focus, for as long as is necessary. The mother teaches by doing, and the cubs learn by watching, and eventually by trying. The early attempts at hunting are often clumsy. Cubs have been observed approaching breathing holes from the wrong angle, crashing into the ice too loudly, missing the moment entirely. But they watch their mother, and they try again, and slowly the patience settles into them. When the cubs finally leave their mother, usually when she enters her next breeding cycle, they are on their own in a way that feels almost abrupt. One season they are beside her. The next, they are alone on the ice, carrying everything she taught them, and nothing else. There is a strange quiet to that image. A young polar bear standing on the vast white plate of the Arctic, knowing what it knows, beginning to live. Polar bears do not hibernate in the traditional sense. This surprises many people, because bears and hibernation seem to go together naturally. The slow disappearance in autumn, the long sleep under the snow, the return in spring. Brown bears and black bears do this. But polar bears, for the most part, remain active through the winter months, hunting when the sea ice is at its most solid and the seals are most accessible. Winter is not their difficult season. Winter is when they thrive. It is the summer, with its retreating ice and vanishing hunting grounds, that is hard. The exception is pregnant females, who enter their dens in late autumn and do go through something close to hibernation. A slowed metabolism, a reduced heart rate, a deep and body-conserving rest. But for the males, and for females without cubs, winter is simply another day on the ice. Polar bears are solitary animals, for the most part. Outside of the breeding season and family groups, a polar bear tends to move through the world alone. They have enormous home ranges. A single polar bear might move across tens of thousands of square kilometers in the course of a year. They follow the ice as it shifts, reading the sea beneath it, smelling the seals far below, moving in a slow, purposeful arc across the top of the world. And yet they are not antisocial. When food is plentiful, at a whale carcass, or during the unusual abundance of a walrus haul-out, polar bears will gather in groups and seem, for a while, perfectly comfortable in each other's company. They have even been observed playing together, mock wrestling, nosing at each other, behaving in ways that look, unmistakably, like play. The polar bear's relationship with Churchill, Manitoba, in Canada, has become one of the best-known examples of human-animal coexistence anywhere on Earth. Churchill sits on the southern edge of Hudson Bay, and every autumn, as the bay begins to freeze, hundreds of polar bears gather near the town, waiting for the ice to form. For decades, this created complicated situations. Bears wandering into town, bears investigating garbage dumps, bears and humans crossing paths, in ways that were not always comfortable for either. Churchill eventually built what is affectionately known as the Polar Bear Jail, a holding facility where bears that come too close to town are held safely until the ice forms, and they can be released onto it. The bears are treated well, fed minimally to encourage their natural instincts, and released with as little stress as possible. It is an imperfect solution to an imperfect situation. Two kinds of large, hungry animals trying to share the same edge of the world. Polar bears are considered a vulnerable species. There are estimated to be somewhere between 22,000 and 31,000 polar bears alive in the wild today. That sounds like a meaningful number, a herd large enough to feel reassuring. But it is distributed across a vast territory, and it is being pressed from every side by changes to the ice. Sea ice in the Arctic is forming later in the year and melting earlier. The seasons that polar bears depend on, the long winters, the reliable freezing, are shifting in ways that do not favor them. A polar bear that spends too many weeks on land without food begins to draw down its fat reserves and enters the following winter lighter, weaker, less prepared. Females with cubs are particularly vulnerable. The demands of nursing and of the long fast in the den require reserves that must be built on the summer and autumn ice, and if that ice is not there, the reserves are not built. The story of the polar bear and the ice is a quiet story. It does not announce itself loudly. It unfolds slowly, season by season, winter by winter, in a place most people will never see. And yet it is one of the most watched stories in the natural world right now. A long, slow conversation between a bear and its vanishing ground. There is a range of polar bears in the world. 19 distinct subpopulations have been identified, scattered across the Arctic nations, Canada, Russia, Norway, Greenland, and the United States, specifically Alaska. Some of these subpopulations are stable. Some are declining. Some are growing in places where hunting controls have been carefully managed. Each group has its own territory, its own particular relationship with the sea ice in its region, its own seasonal rhythms and hunting patterns and ways of moving through the world. To call all polar bears simply polar bears is a little like calling all rivers simply rivers. Each one a version of the same thing, shaped by a different geography, carrying a different weight. Male polar bears become sexually mature, somewhere between 6 and 10 years of age. Females typically reach maturity, between 4 and 6 years. The breeding season occurs in spring, usually between March and May, when the ice is still solid and the bears are still in good condition from the winter's hunting. Males will sometimes travel enormous distances in search of females, tracking them across hundreds of kilometers of ice, following a thread of scent, through a world of white. Competition between males for access to females can be intense, involving long standoffs, much posturing, and sometimes actual combat. Scars on adult male polar bears are common. Silent maps of encounters, written in healed skin and fur. After mating, the female undergoes what is called delayed implantation. The fertilized egg does not immediately develop. Instead, it floats in a kind of suspended state for several months, waiting until the female has built up enough fat to safely carry the pregnancy through the winter. If she has not eaten enough, if the summer hunting was poor, and the reserves are thin, the pregnancy may not continue. Her body, in its ancient and practical wisdom, makes the decision for her. Only if there is enough stored in her will the egg implant. Will the cubs begin to grow? Will the winter carry the next generation of bears into the world? Polar bear cubs are typically born in litters of 2. Single cubs occur. Triplets are much rarer, but have been documented. A litter of 4 has been recorded, though it is exceptionally uncommon. The resources required to raise 4 polar bear cubs in the Arctic are staggering, and survival rates for such large litters are lower. The mother's milk is extraordinarily rich, somewhere around 30% fat, one of the richest milks of any bear species. It is thick and dense, with everything the cubs need to grow quickly in the dark and cold of the den. Polar bears live in the wild, typically between 15 and 18 years. Some individuals have been documented at older ages, past 20, occasionally past 25, though these are the exceptions rather than the rule. In captivity, where the challenges of hunting in the Arctic are replaced by regular feeding and veterinary care, polar bears can live into their 30s. The oldest polar bear in recorded captivity lived to 43 years old. 43 years in a world without ice, without seals, without the vast white silence. Whether that is a long and good life or something more complicated is a question that does not have a simple answer. In the wild, older polar bears show clear signs of aging in their teeth. A polar bear's teeth are subjected to enormous wear over its lifetime, cracking the skulls of seals, tearing at frozen carcasses, gnawing on bones. when other food is scarce. As the teeth wear down, hunting becomes more difficult, and an elderly polar bear may struggle to maintain its body condition in ways that a younger animal would not. The Arctic does not offer much accommodation for the aged. It is a world that keeps asking the same things of you year after year. Patience, strength, endurance. And when you can no longer answer, the asking stops. There is a thing that polar bears do that researchers call locomotive play. Young bears in particular will slide down snowbanks on their bellies, then climb back up and slide down again, apparently for no reason other than the pleasure of it. They will roll in the snow. They will bat at chunks of ice and watch them skitter away. They will push each other with their great, soft paws and tumble over together in a tangle of white fur. Play, in the animal world, is often understood as practice, a way of learning skills that will be needed later. And that is surely part of it. But watching a polar bear slide down a snowbank and immediately climb up to do it again, it is difficult not to think that some of it is simply joy. Polar bears are extraordinarily clean animals. After eating, they spend considerable time grooming themselves, licking their fur, rolling in the snow, using their paws to wipe their faces in a gesture that looks remarkably like the way a cat cleans itself. The reason for this thoroughness is partly practical. Fur matted with blood or oil loses its insulating properties, and partly social. A bear with well-maintained fur retains body heat more efficiently and moves more smoothly through the water. Cleanliness in the Arctic is not a luxury. It is survival made beautiful. The polar bear's vision is roughly equivalent to human vision in normal light conditions. But in low light, in the twilight of the Arctic winter, in the dim underwater world, they see significantly better than we do. Their eyes can gather light that our eyes would miss entirely. Beneath the ice, peering down into dark water, a polar bear can track the movement of a seal in the fraction of light that filters through from above. In that cold, underwater world, their eyes become something we have no equivalent for, a way of seeing that belongs to a different kind of life. Polar bears have very little natural fear of humans. This is not aggression. It is simply the result of living in a place where, for most of their evolutionary history, humans were either not present at all or were encountered only rarely. They approach the unfamiliar with curiosity rather than caution. A polar bear investigating a research station, or walking slowly toward a parked snowmobile, is not being aggressive. It is doing what it does with everything it has not yet made sense of. Getting closer, sniffing carefully, trying to understand. This curiosity, which is one of the most appealing things about them, is also what makes them genuinely dangerous. when they come close to people. In Svalbard, the Norwegian archipelago that lies roughly halfway between Norway and the North Pole, there are more polar bears than people. The human population of Svalbard is around 3,000. The polar bear population is estimated at close to that number as well, sometimes described as roughly equal. In Svalbard, by law, if you leave the main settlements, you must carry protection against polar bears. It is one of the very few places on Earth where humans live in consistent proximity to apex predators larger than themselves, and where the humans are, in a very real sense, the guests. Polar bears communicate with each other in ways we are still learning to understand. They are not particularly vocal animals, not like wolves, not like lions, but they do make sounds. They chuff and growl and make a low, rumbling sound in their throats that researchers describe as chuffing. Cubs make a distinctive humming sound while nursing, a quiet, content vibration that seems to be both comfort and communication at once. Much of what passes between polar bears, though, is body language. The position of the head, the angle of the ears, the way a bear drops its nose toward the ground or raises it toward the sky. Whole conversations happening in a language that has no words. When two polar bears meet, adult males in particular, there is often a long period of what can only be called negotiation. They circle each other slowly. They sniff at the air, and then at the ground where the other has walked. They approach and pull back. They lower their heads, or hold them high, each posture carrying meaning that the other reads and responds to. Sometimes this negotiation leads to play, the mock wrestling that adult males engage in, particularly in autumn, when they gather near Churchill and Svalbard. Sometimes it leads to one bear simply moving away, having understood something from the other's bearing. That means the meeting is over. What they are saying to each other, in all that slow and careful circling, we can describe but not fully translate. The Inuit people, the indigenous peoples of the Arctic, have lived alongside polar bears for thousands of years. They have names for polar bears that carry more meaning than simply a label. In some Inuit languages, the polar bear is called Nanook, a word that carries connotations of strength and wisdom and a kind of older world authority. For many Inuit communities, the polar bear was not simply prey, though it was also that. It was a fellow traveler on the ice, a presence that understood the Arctic in ways that even the most skilled human hunter could only partially approach. The relationship between Inuit hunters and the bears they hunted was governed by deep protocols, a respect that extended beyond the kill into the way the animal was acknowledged and the gratitude that was offered for what it gave. In Inuit mythology, polar bears are sometimes described as able to remove their fur, and walk as humans. The bear beneath the bear. The creature that is not what it appears. There is something in that image that has persisted through generations of stories. The idea that the white bear carries inside it something closer to us than we might expect. And in a strange way, the science of polar bears gestures toward a similar idea. They dream. They play. They grieve, in their way, when cubs are lost. They remember. They plan. They carry knowledge that has been passed down from mother to cub across generations of ice. Polar bears have been observed performing what can only be described as tool use, a behavior once thought exclusive to primates. There are accounts of polar bears hurling chunks of ice or large rocks at walruses to stun them before attacking, using an object as a weapon. These accounts are difficult to verify scientifically, and some researchers are cautious about them. But they have been reported by multiple observers, independently. And given what we know of the polar bear's intelligence, they are not impossible. A creature that has survived for hundreds of thousands of years in one of the most demanding environments on Earth did not do so without thinking. The polar bear has no natural predators. Once it reaches adulthood, orcas killer whales present a danger to polar bears in open water, and there are documented cases of orcas attacking bears that ventured too far from the ice. But on the ice itself, and on land, an adult polar bear has nothing to fear. It sits at the very top of its world's food chain, the apex of a cold and ancient pyramid, answering to nothing except the weather and the thinning ice and the slow, ungovernable turning of the seasons. Young polar bear cubs, however, face several dangers. Adult male polar bears will sometimes kill cubs. This is a difficult truth, and one that researchers have spent considerable time studying. The reasons are not fully understood. Some believe it is related to competition for resources, some to mating behavior, some to factors that are still not clear. A mother polar bear with cubs is extraordinarily protective. She will stand between her cubs and any threat, no matter the size of the threat, no matter what it costs her. The ferocity of a mother polar bear, protecting her young, is one of the most complete expressions of animal protection that exists anywhere on Earth. Arctic foxes follow polar bears. They are known as shadow hunters. Small, quick, opportunistic, trailing behind the great white bears and eating whatever scraps the bear leaves behind. A polar bear takes what it needs and moves on. The Arctic fox arrives quietly afterward and picks through what remains. It is a relationship that has evolved over thousands of years. Not friendship exactly, but something like an arrangement. The fox does not threaten the bear. The bear, mostly, ignores the fox. and between them, very little of a kill goes to waste. On the ice. Polar bears are excellent at conserving heat. They avoid overheating. Yes, overheating. By moving slowly during warmer periods and resting when the sun is strongest. Even at temperatures that would feel extremely cold to us, a polar bear running at full speed can overheat remarkably quickly. Their insulation is so effective that it works almost too well in warm conditions. A sprinting polar bear builds heat faster than it can lose it, which is one reason they tend to prefer short, explosive bursts of speed over sustained chases. They are sprinters by necessity, not marathoners by choice. The white color of a polar bear's fur is extraordinarily effective camouflage on snow and ice. But there are places where this camouflage works less well, where the ground is brown, earth, or grey rock, where the sea is visible behind the bear, where a long summer has turned the landscape temporarily green. In those places, the polar bear stands out clearly, vast and white, against a colored world. And there is something in that image, an animal designed for a specific environment, slightly out of place when that environment changes, that feels gently like something to sit with. The bear's enormous size is itself a form of cold weather adaptation. There is a principle in biology called Bergmann's rule, which describes the tendency of animals in colder climates to be larger than their relatives in warmer climates. A larger body has less surface area relative to its volume, which means less heat escapes per unit of body mass. The polar bear is a dramatic example of this principle taken to its logical end. A body so large that it has become its own insulation. The same principle, in reverse, explains why animals in very hot climates tend to be smaller and leaner, built to release heat rather than hold it. Everything in nature is a response to something. Every shape, every size, every color is an answer to a question the environment has been asking for a very long time. When a polar bear walks, it moves with what can only be called deliberateness. Each step is placed with care, not hesitation, but intention. The paws come down heavily, and the whole body follows through, and the bear moves forward in a kind of rolling, unhurried gait that covers ground slowly but steadily. Watching a polar bear walk toward you across a field of snow at a respectful distance in the safe context of a wildlife viewing experience is one of those experiences that fills the chest with something that is not quite fear and not quite wonder, but something between the two. Polar bear paw prints in snow are enormous. The front paws leave a print roughly the size of a large dinner plate, circular, deeply impressed into the snow, with the individual toes visible. if the snow is the right texture. A trail of polar bear prints, crossing a field of fresh snow, tells a story without words. The spacing between the prints tells you how fast the bear was moving. A slight drag in the snow tells you something about the bear's gait. The trail leads off toward the horizon and disappears. And you stand there looking at it and thinking about where it was going and what it saw from there. The polar bear's ears are small, in proportion to its enormous head. Another cold weather adaptation. Small ears lose less heat than large ones. The same is true of the tail, which is so small as to be almost invisible. Barely a suggestion of a tail at all. Every protrusion from the body is a place where heat can escape. And over hundreds of thousands of years, the polar bear's body has gradually minimized those protrusions, tucking itself inward, pulling its extremities close, becoming as compact and contained as possible, while still being, unmistakably, a very large bear. There are places in the Arctic where polar bears gather in remarkable numbers. Wrangel Island, a Russian island in the Arctic Ocean, is sometimes called the maternity ward of the Arctic. It is one of the densest concentrations of polar bear denning activity anywhere on Earth. In autumn, dozens of pregnant females come ashore there and dig their dens into the hillsides and snowdrifts. The whole island becomes, for a few winter months, a kind of vast and silent nursery. White bears beneath the white snow, carrying the next generation through the cold. Polar bear fur, when it gets wet, dries remarkably quickly. Because each hair is hollow and smooth, water does not easily penetrate the coat. It beads on the surface, and the bear can shake it free in a few quick shudders. After swimming, a polar bear climbing onto the ice will shake itself the way a dog does. A full-body shudder that sends water flying in every direction. And within minutes, the coat is dry enough to resume normal insulation. This ability to transition quickly between water and ice, between swimming and walking, is one of the things that makes the polar bear so complete an animal, equally at home in two very different worlds. The polar bear's nose is its most important sense organ. We have touched on this already, but it bears returning to, because the scale of it is so striking. Imagine being able to smell not just what is around you, but what was here days ago. Imagine being able to smell through a meter of ice and snow and detect the warm, living body beneath. This is the world as the polar bear experiences it. A landscape not of shapes and colors, but of scents. Each one a message, each one a story, each one telling the bear something about what happened here and what might happen next. When polar bears sleep, they sleep deeply. They can curl into a tight ball, tucking their nose beneath a rear leg to conserve the heat of exhaled breath and they can remain in this position for hours at a time. During the most severe weather, blizzards, storms, the extreme cold of the polar night, they may shelter behind a snowdrift or dig a simple scrape in the snow and simply wait out the worst of it. Snow drifts over them. The wind passes above, and the bear remains still, inside a warm white silence, breathing slowly, heart beating quietly, perfectly designed for exactly this. There is a specific kind of light that you find in the Arctic in the weeks just before and after the winter solstice. It is not darkness exactly, and it is not daylight. It is something in between. A blue-grey twilight that settles over the ice for a few hours each day, and then fades again into night. In this light, a polar bear is almost invisible. Its white coat absorbing the pale blue, its stillness making it difficult to distinguish from the surrounding landscape. It moves through that twilight, like something that belongs to it. Not a creature in the environment, but part of the environment itself. The question of whether polar bears are intelligent is one that researchers answer carefully, and generally with a yes. They have demonstrated memory, problem-solving, and innovation. Polar bears in captivity have been shown to use sticks as tools to open latches that other animals cannot figure out, to learn from watching other bears perform tasks before attempting them themselves. In the wild, they remember where productive breathing holes have been in the past and return to them. They remember the routes across the ice that their mothers showed them years before. They adapt. They adjust. They think, in the particular way that a body shaped by millions of years of challenge learns to think. Practically, precisely, quietly. The oldest known polar bear fossil was found in Svalbard and is estimated to be around 130,000 years old. But that fossil represents a polar bear that was already fully formed, already adapted to the ice, already recognizable as the animal we know today. The actual divergence from brown bears began much earlier than that. Somewhere in the warm period before the last great ice age, when small groups of brown bears moved into colder and colder territories and began the long, slow, patient work of becoming something new. Every polar bear alive today carries that history in its cells. The DNA of the ice bear is a record of every winter its ancestors survived, every seal caught, every cub raised, every storm waited out. The bear sleeping on the ice tonight, somewhere north of everywhere you have ever been, is the latest chapter in a very long and very cold story. In the spring, when the days grow longer and the sun returns to the Arctic sky, after months of darkness, the ice takes on a particular quality. It becomes softer at the surface, while remaining solid below. The snow on top turns granular and wet. water begins to pool in low places. And the polar bears that have been hunting all winter begin to show the effects of months of hard work. Some lean, some heavily pregnant, some carrying the scars of winter encounters. Spring is a time of change on the ice, and polar bears read those changes, the way they read everything, through smell, through the feel of the snow under their paws, through the long experience of having done this many times before. The ringed seal, the polar bear's primary prey, is itself a remarkable animal. It is the smallest and most abundant seal in the Arctic, and it has evolved in direct response to the polar bear's hunting methods. The ringed seal maintains multiple breathing holes in the ice, sometimes as many as 10 or 15, so that it can surface in different places and reduce the chance of a bear waiting at any one of them. The seal has become faster, more unpredictable, more aware, in direct response to thousands of generations of polar bears hunting it. And the polar bear has become more patient, more sensitive, more skilled, in direct response to the seal's evasiveness. They have shaped each other, predator and prey, locked in an ancient and mutual becoming. The walrus is another important animal in the polar bear's world. Walruses are significantly larger and more dangerous than seals. An adult walrus can weigh over 1,000 kilograms and has tusks that can be nearly a meter long. A polar bear rarely attempts to take a healthy adult walrus alone. But walrus calves and elderly or injured adults are sometimes pursued. When large numbers of walruses haul out on beaches, as they increasingly do in places where sea ice has retreated, polar bears will sometimes attempt to stampede them, hoping to separate vulnerable individuals from the group in the chaos. These encounters are dramatic and uncertain. The bears do not always succeed, but they try with the patient resourcefulness of an animal that has no other option. Narwhals, those extraordinary tusked whales of the Arctic, are occasionally preyed upon by polar bears. This is not a common occurrence, but it has been documented. When narwhals become trapped in small areas of open water surrounded by ice, a situation called a sasat in some northern languages, polar bears will sometimes gather at the edges and reach into the water to pull them up. A polar bear pulling a narwhal from the sea onto the ice is a glimpse into a world of such raw capability that it is difficult to process from the warm, safe distance of wherever you are reading this. The stomach of a polar bear can hold up to 68 kilograms of food. 68 kilograms. That is approximately the weight of an average adult human being. When a polar bear finds a plentiful food source, it eats with a focused intensity, not frenzied, but serious, deliberate, consuming as much as possible, because it does not know when the next meal will come. This capacity for enormous consumption is matched by an equivalent capacity for going without. The same bear that ate 68 kilograms in one sitting can fast for months. It simply depends on what the season requires. Polar bears have occasionally been observed traveling south, far south, relative to their usual range, when the ice carries them there, or when food drives them. There are historical accounts of polar bears appearing on the coasts of Iceland, having drifted south on ice floes. Some of these bears were shot by people who had never seen such a creature before and were, understandably, terrified. Others simply disappeared back into the sea, swam away, returned to wherever they had come from. The image of a polar bear alone on an ice floe, somewhere off the coast of Iceland, hundreds of kilometers from its usual territory, drifting in an unfamiliar sea, is the kind of image that settles into the mind and stays there quietly for a long time. Climate records from the Arctic tell a story of change that is both gradual and dramatic. The Arctic is warming at roughly 4 times the rate of the rest of the planet. The sea ice extent, the total area of ice covering the Arctic Ocean, has been declining over recent decades. For polar bears, this is not an abstract statistic. It is the narrowing of their world. Less ice means less access to seals. Less access to seals means fewer calories. Fewer calories means thinner bears, smaller cubs, lower survival rates. The mathematics are not comfortable, but they are what they are, and the bears do not know about them. They only know that the ice is not where it used to be. Conservation efforts for polar bears are ongoing and complex. The international agreement that regulates polar bear hunting, signed in 1973 by the 5 nations with polar bear populations, was a landmark moment in wildlife protection. Before that agreement, unrestricted hunting had reduced some subpopulations dramatically. After the agreement, many populations stabilized and began to recover. But the challenge now is not primarily hunting. It is habitat. And habitat, in this case, means ice. And ice, in this case, means temperature. And temperature is a thing that involves decisions made by every nation on Earth, not just the 5 that happen to share a border with the Arctic. Polar bear research has become increasingly sophisticated. In recent decades, scientists fit bears with GPS collars and satellite tags to track their movements across the ice. They take tiny samples of fur and fat to monitor the bear's health and diet. They use drone technology to observe denning females without disturbing them. Some researchers spend months in the Arctic, living in small huts on the ice, watching bears from a respectful distance and writing down everything they see. It is quiet, painstaking, essential work. The slow accumulation of knowledge about an animal that is too important and too vulnerable to simply guess about. One of the things that researchers have noticed is that polar bears in different subpopulations behave differently. Bears in some regions have developed new hunting strategies in response to changing ice conditions. Some have started hunting on land more frequently, preying on snow goose eggs, on caribou, on things they would rarely have touched. When seal hunting was more reliable, whether these new behaviors are signs of admirable adaptability or simply signs of desperation is something researchers debate carefully. Probably both things are true at once. The sound of the Arctic at night is something that travelers there describe with unusual consistency. They say it is not merely quiet. They say it is a different kind of quiet, a silence that has weight to it, a presence, a texture. The creak of sea ice as it shifts, the distant sound of wind moving across snow without anything to interrupt it, the occasional breath of an animal somewhere near. The Arctic silence is not the absence of sound. It is a kind of sound in itself, one that you feel more than you hear, deep in the chest, behind the ribs, in the same place where very quiet music settles. And somewhere in that silence, a polar bear is moving. You cannot see it. You cannot hear it. But it is there, padding across the ice, on feet the size of dinner plates, nose working, breath rising in small clouds, and dissolving into the dark, following a thread of scent, toward something it cannot yet see, but already knows is there. Polar bears have a gland near the base of each foot that secretes a substance. Other polar bears can smell in the prints left behind. Every step a polar bear takes is, in a sense, a signature, a message, a way of being present, even in absence. Another bear crossing the same ice hours later can read those footprints and learn something about the bear that made them, its sex, its reproductive state, perhaps even its health. The ice is never truly empty. It is full of stories, written in a language we are only just beginning to decode. Polar bears can run at speeds of up to 40 kilometers per hour over short distances. That is faster than most people can comfortably cycle. For an animal of their weight, this speed is remarkable, the result of long, powerful legs and an enormous muscle mass that can generate explosive force for brief periods. But as we said, they cannot sustain this speed for long. The heat builds up too quickly. And so a polar bear's chase is typically short and decisive. A sudden burst of movement from a complete stillness, covering the distance in seconds, or not at all. There is a theory, not universally accepted, but interesting to consider, that polar bears may have been observed by early Norse explorers and contributed to the mythology of the great white bear. In Scandinavian folklore, the Norse had a bear they called the white sea bear, which appeared in their stories. as a being of unusual intelligence and power. Whether this came from actual encounters with polar bears in the waters around Greenland and Svalbard is something that cannot be proven. But the idea that these white bears worked their way into the imagination of people who encountered them and became something larger than themselves in the retelling, that feels plausible. That feels like the way it goes. Polar bears have been kept in captivity since at least the 11th century. The King of Norway sent polar bear cubs as diplomatic gifts to European monarchs. A polar bear at the Tower of London was recorded in the 1300s. A white bear on a long chain allowed to fish in the Thames. That image is strange and slightly heartbreaking. A creature of the far north, standing at the edge of a medieval river, fishing for something, in water that was nothing like the water it came from. But it survived. It fed itself. It did what polar bears do. It adapted to what was in front of it and kept going. The white bear has appeared in human art and imagination for as long as humans have known about it. In Inuit art, the polar bear appears frequently. Carved in stone and bone, depicted in print, referenced in song and story. In Western art, the polar bear became a symbol of the wild, the remote, the untamed. A creature from a place beyond maps. 19th century artists painted polar bear hunts with a kind of dramatic intensity that says more about the human relationship with wildness and danger than it does about the bears themselves. But the image persisted, and it still carries power. The great white bear, on ice, in the cold, looking back at us. Modern photography has allowed people who will never go to the Arctic to see polar bears with extraordinary clarity. A close-up photograph of a polar bear's face reveals things you might not expect. The warmth of the dark eyes, the texture of the nose, damp and dark and covered in tiny pores, like a dog's nose but larger. The way the fur around the face makes a kind of soft frame for an expression that is not quite blank, but not quite readable either. You cannot say what a polar bear is thinking from looking at its face. But you can say, with some confidence, that something is there. Some quality of attention, some interior life, some version of being present that is different from ours, but not entirely unlike it. The scientific study of polar bear cognition is a relatively young field. For much of the history of animal science, the idea that animals had anything like rich inner lives was considered soft, anthropomorphic, not rigorous. That view has changed considerably. Researchers now take seriously the question of what polar bears experience. Not just what they do, but what it might be like to be them. To be that large, that solitary, that patient. To carry so much fat in your body and so much knowledge in your memory. To live in a world that is almost entirely white and blue and grey. with the occasional dark opening of water and the flash of something moving below. What does the Arctic smell like to a polar bear? This is a question we cannot answer, but we can try to imagine the outline of it. The salt of the sea, heavy and specific. The cold itself. Cold has a smell, a clean and mineral quality. The deep, complex scent of the ice. Different from the scent of fresh snow. Different from the scent of old ice. Different from the scent of ice that is beginning to melt. The faint, warm trace of a seal that passed this way, sometime in the last few hours. The slightly stronger trace of a female bear who walked here 2 days ago. The smell of open water from kilometers away. The smell of the coming weather. The world as a polar bear experiences it must be dense with information. A kind of richness we cannot access. A dimension of experience that our simpler noses have no way in. In captivity, polar bears require extraordinarily enriched environments. To maintain good psychological health, they need space, real space, much more than most enclosures historically provided. They need complexity, things to investigate, things to smell, things to manipulate. They need water to swim in. They need ice when it can be provided. Without sufficient stimulation, polar bears in captivity can develop repetitive behaviors, pacing in specific patterns, repeating the same route endlessly, which are signs of psychological stress in an animal whose mind was built for a world of vast, changing, unpredictable complexity. The best modern zoos understand this and work very hard to provide it. Some still struggle. A polar bear's mental needs are, in some ways, as demanding as its physical ones. There are polar bears that have become famous, individual animals, whose lives have been followed by researchers and the public alike. In Churchill, individual bears have been named and studied over multiple decades. Researchers tracking a female bear across multiple pregnancies and cub rearings build up a picture of an individual life, her particular hunting grounds, her denning preferences, how many of her cubs survived, how her body changed over the years. These individual stories do something that statistics cannot. They make the species real in a way that a population number never quite manages. One of the most affecting things about polar bears, for the researchers who study them, is the way a mother bear interacts with her cubs. She is patient with them, genuinely, demonstrably patient, in a way that is easy to see and striking to watch. When a cub makes a mistake, approaches prey too quickly, loses balance on the ice, she does not react with frustration. She simply continues. She demonstrates the correct behavior again. She waits for the cub to try again, and when it does better, she moves on. It is a kind of teaching that we recognize. Not identical to human teaching, but analogous to it. patient, repetitive, forgiving, continuous. There is a time of year in Svalbard, called the polar night, when the sun does not rise above the horizon for nearly 4 months. From late October to mid-February, the archipelago is in continuous darkness, or rather, a gradual twilight that lasts a few hours around midday and then fades again into night. During this period, the sea ice gradually extends southward, and polar bears move with it, following the edge of the ice, where seals are most concentrated. The bears of the polar night live in a world of stars and aurora borealis, the green and purple curtains of light that ripple across the Arctic sky on clear, cold nights. What a polar bear makes of the northern lights, if anything, is impossible to say. Perhaps nothing. Perhaps it is simply light, irrelevant to the business of smelling the ice. Or perhaps there is some faint response, a moment of looking up, a pause in the walking, a breath held slightly longer than usual, before moving on. The polar bear population of the Beaufort Sea, the stretch of ocean north of Alaska and western Canada, has been one of the most intensively studied in the world. Researchers from the United States and Canada have followed this population for decades, tracking individual animals and recording their movements, health, and reproductive success. The picture that has emerged is one of a population under pressure. Smaller average body sizes, lower cub survival rates, longer periods without food, correlating with documented declines in sea ice coverage. It is careful, difficult data gathered over years of painstaking fieldwork in one of the most challenging environments on the planet. The relationship between polar bears and sea ice is sometimes described as an equation. Ice is the platform. The platform is where the hunting happens. The hunting is where the calories come from. The calories are what makes everything else possible. The cubs, the dens, the long winter fasts, the survival. Change any one element of that equation, and all the others shift. Remove the ice entirely, and the equation no longer makes sense. You are left with a bear, standing on open water, which is not something any polar bear has ever evolved to do. But the news is not entirely dark. There are reasons for careful optimism. Polar bear populations in some areas have shown resilience that researchers did not predict. Some subpopulations are stable. Some are increasing slightly. The international agreements protecting polar bears have, on the whole, been honored. And the scientific understanding of polar bears has advanced enormously in the past few decades, giving researchers better tools to monitor populations, track individuals, and understand what the bears actually need. Knowledge, in conservation, is the thing that comes before action, and the knowledge is growing. There is a bear researcher who spent 30 years studying the bears of Hudson Bay. She described, in an interview, the first time she saw a polar bear family emerging from their den in spring. The mother came first, she said, blinking in the light, looking around at the world, as if seeing it for the first time. And then the cubs appeared behind her, two small white shapes, tumbling over each other in the snow, trying to run and managing only to roll, full of a life and an energy that had been contained and growing in the darkness of the den for months. She said she cried, not because it was sad, but because it was so completely alive, and she had been cold and patient and waiting for so long. And there it was, life erupting out of the snow. The thought of that stays with me. The thought of something growing in the dark for months, and then emerging into the light and tumbling over itself in the snow, full of everything it has not yet done. The Arctic, for all its cold and silence, is not a dead place. It is a place where life has found a way to persist and even to flourish in conditions that seem to say, nothing can live here. And the polar bear is the most vivid answer to that claim. Something can live here, something enormous and white and patient and hungry and alive. Let us think, just for a moment, about what it means to be alive in that way, to exist in a world that requires everything from you, all your fat, all your patience, all your senses, all your skill, just to make it through a season. And to do this, not with despair, but with a kind of immense, natural, unhurried competence. Polar bears do not seem to suffer from the weight of their circumstances. They do not seem to worry about what is coming. They simply attend to what is here. The ice beneath their feet, the smell in the air, the breathing hole that needs watching, the cub that needs feeding. One thing at a time, one breath at a time, one slow and enormous step at a time. There is something in that the mind reaches toward in the dark, when the day is finally over and everything is quiet. The idea of just being what you are, attending to the immediate, trusting your body, your senses, the knowledge that has accumulated in your muscles and your memory over many years of living. Not reaching forward into tomorrow or backward into yesterday. Just here, just still, just waiting beside the breathing hole, in the ice of the present moment, for whatever is about to come. The Arctic changes color through the year. In winter, it is white and blue and the deep purple of the night sky. In spring, as the sun returns, the ice takes on a yellower quality, a warmer light scattering off the surface. In summer, The land around the coast turns briefly green, and flowers bloom. Small, tough, colorful flowers that push up through the permafrost and open for the brief Arctic summer. Polar bears walking through that brief green world look strange and slightly out of place. All that white on all those colors. But they move through it anyway, patient as always, waiting for the cold to return and the ice to form and the world to become itself again. And when the ice comes back, when the sea begins to freeze in November, the ice crystals forming first in the still waters, then spreading outward, connecting, thickening, until the whole surface is covered. The polar bears move onto it. They come from the shore, where they have been waiting, and they walk out onto the new ice, with a kind of unhurried certainty. This is where they belong. This is what they have been waiting for. The ice is thin at first, a pale, translucent layer over dark water, and the bear distributes its weight carefully, spreading its paws wide, moving slowly until the ice is thick enough to trust. And then it walks, and it does not stop. Polar bears can walk continuously for a very long time. Their energy-efficient gait, that slow, rolling walk, is designed for long-distance travel with minimal caloric cost. A polar bear looking for food might walk dozens of kilometers in a day without apparent fatigue, covering the ice in a steady, purposeful march that brings it gradually but reliably toward whatever the nose is tracking. The bones of a polar bear are dense, denser than those of most other bears. This density provides support for the enormous body, and it also adds weight that keeps the bear stable on the ice and in the water. A polar bear skeleton is a remarkable thing to look at. Massive and robust, built for endurance and power. The skull is long and narrow, designed to fit into seal breathing holes. The shoulder blades are enormous, the anchor points for the muscles that power those great swimming strokes. Every bone in the body tells you something about the life the animal was built to live. When a polar bear catches a seal, the kill is usually quick. The bear uses one of several techniques: the bite to the head, the strike with a paw, the sudden immense pressure, and it is over fast. There is no cruelty in it, and no lingering. It is the clean efficiency of a body doing exactly what it evolved to do, performing a function so ancient and so practiced that it requires no thought. The hunter and the hunted, in that final moment, are part of the same old machinery, the machinery that moves energy from one form of life into another, has always done this, will continue doing it, for as long as ice and cold and hunger exist in the same place. Polar bear cubs grow very quickly in their first months. They are born in December or January, small enough to hold in your hands, and by the time they leave the den in March or April, they weigh 10 to 12 kilograms, They spend those early months in a warm, dark, enclosed world, nursing, sleeping, growing, hearing their mother's heartbeat, feeling the cold that presses in from outside and does not quite reach them. The den is the first world they know. Small, warm, safe. And then the world opens. Light pours in, and cold air, and the vast white expanse of everything. Imagine seeing the world for the first time, and having it be the Arctic. Imagine that first breath of outside air. The light, after months of darkness. The enormity of the sky. The mother standing nearby, patient, watching. The cub blinks and sniffs, and takes a tentative step forward, and sinks into the snow. And the world, in its cold and indifferent way, says, "Here you are. Now begin." The polar bear does not know what year it is. It does not know that people far away are writing papers about it and worrying about its future and taking photographs of it from safe distances and naming its subpopulations. It knows the ice. It knows the smell of the seal. It knows the weight of its body and the particular sound that new ice makes beneath its pores. It knows where the sun goes in winter and roughly when it will return. It knows its cubs, knows them completely by smell and sound and the particular way they press against her side. The world of the polar bear is not our world. It is older, simpler, vastly colder, and in many ways, more complete. The light returns to the Arctic in February. After weeks of darkness, or near darkness, or the blue twilight that passes for day, the sun edges above the horizon again, and stays there for a few minutes longer each day. In Svalbard, people gather at the hospitals and on hilltops to watch the first full sunrise of the year, a communal marking of the moment when the world turns back toward the light. The polar bears do not gather to watch, but their behavior shifts with the returning light too. Subtle changes in movement, in time spent at breathing holes, in the patterns of a life that is governed by things much older than any calendar. There is a type of behavior that researchers call aquatic stalking. A polar bear will approach a seal resting on the ice by entering the water some distance away and swimming toward it, surfacing and diving repeatedly, getting closer and closer, while the seal rests, unaware. The final approach is made in silence, the bear emerging from the water onto the ice edge, as quietly as possible. This technique requires enormous patience and a precise reading of distance, speed, and the seal's level of alertness. The bear must calculate the whole thing: when to swim, when to surface, how far to go, when to make the final move, without being able to see the seal while underwater. It is a piece of hunting strategy that requires planning, memory, and a kind of spatial imagination that we are only beginning to understand. Polar bears also hunt by walking along. The edges of open water leads in the ice. Long cracks in the sea ice, where the ocean is exposed and seals surface. They patrol these leads, the way a person might walk the edge of a lake, watching and smelling, waiting for a moment of opportunity. In spring, as the ice begins to break up and leads widen, these open water areas become the highways of the Arctic, channels of movement for seals and beluga whales, and walruses and birds, and the polar bears that follow all of them. Some researchers have noted that polar bears seem to understand, on some level, the structural properties of ice. They test the ice before committing their full weight to it. They move differently on thin ice than on thick ice, spreading their weight, moving more slowly, sometimes lying flat, and distributing themselves across a larger surface area. This is not instinct alone. It involves an assessment of the surface beneath them and an adjustment of behavior in response. It is a form of physical reasoning, a bear thinking about the ice in whatever way bears think. The Arctic is a place where time moves differently. Not faster or slower, exactly, but in rhythms that do not match the rhythms of most other places on Earth. Seasons that last for months in either direction. Light that appears for 24 hours a day in summer and disappears for months in winter. Ice that looks permanent, but is always, at every moment, in motion, drifting, cracking, freezing, melting, driven by currents and temperatures that stretch across an entire ocean. Living inside those rhythms requires a body and a mind built for their particular demands. The polar bear has had hundreds of thousands of years to build exactly that. When you think about the polar bear now, late at night, in your warm and comfortable place, think of it not just as an animal in danger, not just as a symbol, not just as a photograph on a wall or a story on a screen. Think of it as something that woke up this morning, on the ice, shook the snow from its fur, turned its enormous dark nose into the wind, and decided what direction to walk. A living thing, here, right now, on the same planet you are on, breathing the same air. Just much colder air, in a place of white and silence, living the only life it knows, with everything it has. The young bears that are born this winter, curled in dens somewhere across the Arctic right now, small and warm and new, will face a world that is different from the one their grandmothers knew. The ice may be different. The seasons may be shifted. The hunting may be harder or differently located. But they will have what their mothers give them: the patience, the knowledge, the fat, the enormous and careful nose, the capacity to wait. They will have the same ancient gift that every polar bear has carried forward through every winter it has ever survived. the ability to be completely, wholly, fully present in the only moment that exists. The ice does not ask what you have accomplished. It does not keep score. It is simply there, vast and white and cold and indifferent, holding the bear up, holding the sea down, holding the whole Arctic world in a cold embrace that has lasted for millions of years. And the bear walks across it, patient as the seasons, unhurried as snow, belonging entirely to where it is. Let your body feel heavy now. Let the weight of you settle into whatever is beneath you. The mattress, the blanket, the quiet dark of where you are. You do not need to go anywhere. You do not need to figure anything out. The world beyond this room will be there when you return to it. For now, just let the image of it hold you. The ice, the white, the dark water far below, the great pale bear, moving slowly and without hurry across the top of the world. Somewhere out there, right now, a polar bear is still, resting behind a snowdrift, eyes closed, nose working even in sleep, cataloguing the cold air, the distant water, the faint trace of a seal that passed sometime in the night. Its heart beats slowly, much more slowly than yours right now. A deep and patient rhythm that has been going for years without interruption. Its fur holds the cold at bay. Its fat holds the warmth inside. Its enormous body is doing everything it needs to do, without being asked, without being told, without effort. You can do that too. Your body knows how to rest. It has been resting you for as long as you have been alive. Every night, in the dark, it does what it does. Slows, repairs, restores, without you having to think about it. You can let it. You can give it permission to do what it already knows how to do. The Arctic is very quiet now. The polar bear sleeps. The ice holds. The stars above it are the same stars they have always been. Cold and bright and older than everything. And somewhere beneath all of that, beneath the ice and the water and the cold and the dark, the earth turns slowly, as it has always turned, carrying all of it. The bears, the seals, the ice, the sleeping world, forward through the night. Let your eyes be closed now, if they are not already. Let your breath find its own pace, slower than it was, slower still. Think of the white bear on the white ice, still and warm inside its cold world, resting without worry, breathing without effort, held by the simple fact of being alive, in the place it belongs. You are held too, by the warmth around you, by the darkness that has come, by the night, which is doing what it always does, slowing things down, quieting things, making space for the rest that you need. The bear sleeps. The ice holds. The world turns. And you gently drift. There is something about the far north that pulls at the imagination long after you have left it, or long after you have only heard about it from someone else. A kind of residue, a presence, as if the cold and the silence have a weight to them that carries into other climates, other rooms, other lives. People who have been to the Arctic often say the same thing, that they think about it still, years later, that they will be somewhere warm and ordinary, a kitchen, a supermarket, a car in afternoon traffic, and they will suddenly feel the cold again, the particular quality of that silence, the vast white flatness, and something in them will want to go back. The polar bear does not have to want to go back. It has never left. It lives there always, in the cold and the white and the silence, in a way that never becomes ordinary to us, because we can only visit it from the outside. But for the bear, the Arctic is simply home. Not dramatic, not extraordinary, just the place where things are. The smell of the ice, the sound of the wind, the breathing hole that needs to be found and watched. The same life, every day, without the possibility of elsewhere. There is a peace in that, if you let yourself see it. The peace of not being somewhere else. The peace of simply being, in the place you are, attending to what is there, doing what the moment asks. The polar bear has never wished it was somewhere warmer. It has never wished it were something else. It is completely and entirely the thing it is, in the place it belongs, doing what it was built for. And somewhere in that completeness, in that exact fit between creature and world, there is something the mind finds beautiful, even from a great distance. The sea ice, when it is new and forming, makes sounds. Small sounds, the creak and tick of ice crystals, pressing together, the low groan of expanding sheets, the occasional sharp crack, as stress releases along a fault, somewhere beneath the surface. On cold, still nights, the forming ice sounds almost like music. A soft, percussive, random music with no rhythm and no ending. Polar bears move across ice that is making these sounds with perfect ease. They have learned to read the sounds, to tell from the pitch and frequency whether the ice is thick enough to hold them, whether it is still forming or beginning to weaken. The sounds of the Arctic are information, and the polar bear has learned to listen to all of them. Researchers have observed that polar bears appear to enjoy water, not simply tolerate it, enjoy it. They have been filmed rolling in shallow water, floating on their backs in calm leads, splashing with what appears to be genuine pleasure. In zoos, polar bears spend considerable voluntary time in their pools, more time than would be required, simply for cooling or cleaning. They dive to the bottom. They surface and dive again. They float with their faces in the water, and then flip over onto their backs and look up at the sky. Whatever a polar bear experiences in water, and we cannot know precisely what that is, it does not seem to be the reluctance you might expect from an animal that lives primarily on ice. The relationship between polar bears and cold water begins very early. Mother polar bears teach their cubs to swim. Within weeks of leaving the den, the cubs enter the water beside their mother, and she moves slowly, keeping them close, encouraging them with her presence to do what their bodies already know how to do, but have not yet tried. Young polar bear cubs in water are slightly comical, paddling vigorously, snorting when water gets in their faces, riding up onto their mother's back when they grow tired. She tolerates all of it, with the same quiet patience she brings to everything. By the time the cubs are a few months old, they swim with confidence, not with the power and endurance of an adult, but capable, comfortable, at ease, in the cold water they were born to. There are 5 accepted polar bear subpopulations in Canada alone: the Western Hudson Bay population, the Southern Hudson Bay population, the Davis Strait population, the Fox Basin population, and the Baffin Bay population. Each of these groups occupies a different part of the Canadian Arctic, and each has its own seasonal pattern. When the ice forms, when it melts, how long the bears spend on land versus on the sea ice, what prey is available in each area. The bears of southern Hudson Bay, for instance, spend more time on land in summer and early autumn than most other subpopulations, because the ice on Hudson Bay melts completely each summer, unlike the Central Arctic, where some sea ice persists year-round. Each population is, in a sense, a different version of the same answer to slightly different questions posed by slightly different places. The tracking of individual polar bears has revealed something remarkable about the scale of their movements. A female polar bear, tagged in one study, was tracked moving over 60,000 square kilometers in the course of a single year. 60,000 square kilometers. That is a territory larger than most European countries. She was not following a fixed route. She was following the ice, following the seals, following whatever the season asked of her. The map of her movements looks like a web of lines, spreading across the Arctic, tracing the logic of a life lived entirely by smell and instinct and accumulated knowledge, without maps, without GPS, without anyone telling her where to go. Polar bears have a remarkable ability to navigate. How they orient themselves across the vast, mostly featureless expanse of the Arctic sea ice is still not fully understood. They may use the Earth's magnetic field, as some other animals are known to do. They may use the stars, the position of the sun in the sky, the angle of the light. They almost certainly use smell, the shifting scent of the ocean beneath the ice, the faint but distinct smell of different currents, different water temperatures, different ice conditions. A polar bear moving across the ice is reading a map that no human instrument has yet been built to fully measure. In the Chukchi Sea, the body of water between Alaska and Russia, polar bears have adapted to an ice environment that has changed significantly in recent decades. The sea ice there forms later, melts earlier, and retreats farther north in summer than it did a generation ago. The bears of the Chukchi have responded by swimming longer distances, crossing larger stretches of open water to reach the remaining ice, and by spending more time on land during the ice-free months. Whether these adaptations are sustainable in the long term is a question that researchers monitor carefully, season by season, bear by bear, with the particular kind of worried attention that you give to something that matters and might be fragile. When a polar bear encounters a carcass, a dead whale, a dead walrus, something large washed up on the ice, it approaches carefully. First from a distance, reading the smell, then closer, circling, then stopping again, reading more carefully. Only when the bear is satisfied that the carcass is what it appears to be, food and not a trap, or an unusual danger, does it move in to feed. This caution in the face of the unfamiliar is consistent with what we know of the polar bear's character. Curious, cautious, deliberate, never reckless, never quite surprised. Always reading the world carefully before committing to it. In the town of Churchill, there are people whose grandparents and great-grandparents also lived alongside polar bears. The relationship between the town and the bears goes back generations. Through times when hunting was common, through times when the bears were seen primarily as a danger, into the present moment, when the bears have become the reason people come from all over the world to visit. Tundra buggies, large, slow vehicles designed to move safely across the tundra, carry visitors out to where the bears gather. In late autumn, waiting for the ice. People come from Japan and Germany and Australia and Brazil to stand inside those vehicles and look out at polar bears, who are, mostly, looking back at them. Both sides of that window are curious about the other. One of the most interesting aspects of polar bear behavior in Churchill is the play fighting between adult males. In the weeks before the ice forms, when the bears are gathered on land and waiting, The adult males often engage in long bouts of what researchers describe as ritualized combat. They rise on their hind legs, which makes them appear even more enormous than they already are, and wrestle each other with their front paws, pushing and grappling, rolling on the tundra, biting gently at each other's necks. It looks violent, in the way that all large-scale physical contact looks violent. But the bears rarely injure each other in these bouts. The mouth is open, but the bite is controlled. The push is forceful, but the claws are retracted. It is play. It is practice. It is two enormous animals spending an idle afternoon in the way that most creatures spend idle afternoons, together, moving, finding out what the other is made of. The history of human encounters with polar bears is long and complicated. For many centuries, those encounters happened primarily in the context of hunting. Inuit hunters pursued polar bears with dog sleds and harpoons, a practice requiring enormous skill and courage, and governed by deep cultural protocols. European and American whalers and explorers also hunted polar bears for their fur and their fat and their meat, and sometimes simply because the opportunity arose. The accounts of early Arctic explorers are full of polar bear encounters, some dangerous, some fateful, some described with a matter-of-fact tone that makes them feel stranger in retrospect. The ship's log of a polar expedition from the 1800s might record, on the same page, the severity of the ice conditions and the killing of a polar bear that came too close to camp. The scientific study of polar bears began in earnest in the 20th century. Early researchers used techniques that would not be acceptable today, pursuing bears by helicopter, sometimes tranquilizing them in ways that caused considerable stress. Over time, methods improved. The protocols for tranquilizing and handling bears became more refined, more humane, more respectful of the animal's well-being. Researchers began to develop genuine affection for the bears they studied, coming to know individual animals, following them over multiple field seasons, caring what happened to them, in a way that went beyond scientific interest. This happens in wildlife research. You spend enough time with something, in difficult conditions, in the cold and the wind and the ice, and you start to feel something that is more than professional interest. There is a researcher who has spent more than 30 years studying polar bears in western Hudson Bay. She has handled thousands of individual bears over the course of her career, taken their measurements, sampled their blood, tagged them, released them. She says that after all that time, what strikes her most is still the eyes. The dark eyes of a tranquilized polar bear, just beginning to wake up, focusing slowly on her face, taking her in, with a calm that is either trust or simply the absence of fear. She cannot always tell which, but she has never, in 30 years, gotten used to it. The Arctic tern is another creature of the polar world, though it visits rather than inhabits. Every year, Arctic terns migrate from the Antarctic to the Arctic and back. The longest migration of any animal on Earth, a round trip of up to 90,000 kilometers. They arrive in the Arctic in summer, when the endless daylight makes feeding possible around the clock. Polar bears occasionally interact with terns, usually when the terns dive bomb any large animal that comes too close to their nesting areas. A polar bear being dive bombed by Arctic terns is one of nature's quieter comedies. The bear, enormous and unhurried, ignores the small, frantic birds as they swoop and call around its head, and continues walking wherever it was going, entirely unmoved. The terns eventually give up, and the bear walks on, in the same direction at the same pace. Polar bears are remarkable at finding food in unexpected places. In summer, when seal hunting is difficult, they have been observed eating almost everything. Bird eggs from cliff nesting colonies, catching seabirds in flight when the opportunity arose, digging up the cached food stores of Arctic foxes, eating grass and sedge and seaweed along the coast. None of this provides the calories that seal fat provides, and polar bears know this in some deep sense. Their body is always running a slow calculation between the energy cost of searching for food and the calories that food provides. In a lean summer, sometimes the calculation comes out negative. The effort costs more than the reward. When that happens, the bear stops searching and simply rests, conserving what it has and waiting for the season to change. Beluga whales and polar bears occasionally cross paths in the open Arctic water. A lone beluga separated from its pod, or a young one stranded in shallow water, can sometimes become prey for a polar bear that happens to be nearby. These encounters are rare and difficult to observe, but they have been documented. What is interesting about them is not so much the hunt itself as the bear's approach. The way it reads the water, assesses the whale, makes a decision about whether the attempt is worth the energy. Most of the time, the bear watches for a while and then moves on. The calculation did not favor the attempt. The beluga is too fast, too deep, too unpredictable. And so the bear lifts its great nose from the water's edge and turns away, looking for something more certain. The polar bear's liver contains extraordinarily high concentrations of vitamin A. So high, in fact, that eating it would be fatal to a human being. Arctic explorers learned this the hard way. There are historical accounts of expeditions in which men ate polar bear liver and died of hypervitaminosis A, a condition in which the body is overwhelmed by toxic levels of the vitamin. The Inuit knew better. They had known for generations that the liver was not to be eaten, and they fed it to their dogs with caution. or discarded it entirely. The knowledge that the polar bear's liver is dangerous is one of those facts that sits at the edge of the comfortable and reminds you that the Arctic does not accommodate the unprepared. The snow around a polar bear den in the weeks before the family emerges often shows signs of what is happening inside. The snow directly above the den is slightly warmer than the surrounding snowpack. The heat of the mother's body and the heat of her cubs, rising faintly through the insulating white. Researchers using infrared cameras can sometimes detect this heat signature from the air, a faint, warm glow in the snow that marks the spot where lives are beginning. The drone circles overhead, invisible and silent, and the image on the researcher's screen shows a soft, warm spot in a field of cold white. Somewhere in that warmth, the family is sleeping. The mother's heartbeat is slow. The cubs press against her sides. Everything they will ever know has not yet started. The history of polar bear hunting by indigenous peoples is inseparable from the history of survival in the Arctic. Polar bear meat was an important food source, particularly for Inuit communities in regions where other food was scarce in winter. The fat was rendered and used for fuel and cooking. The fur was made into clothing, pants and boots and outer garments that provided protection against the cold that no other material could match. Nothing was wasted. The bear was used completely. Bones for tools, sinew for thread, organs examined for clues about the health of the animal and the state of the environment. The killing of a polar bear was treated with the seriousness it deserved, as a significant event requiring respect and acknowledgement in a world where respect for what sustained you was not optional, but essential to survival. Today, regulated subsistence hunting of polar bears continues in some Inuit communities. This is a complex and carefully managed situation, governed by agreements between indigenous communities, national governments, and international bodies. The right of indigenous peoples to continue practices that have sustained them for thousands of years is weighed against the need to protect a species that faces significant pressures. These conversations are ongoing, careful, and often difficult. They involve voices and perspectives and histories that do not always align easily. The polar bear, in the middle of all these conversations, walks out onto the ice and continues its ancient business, unaware of the humans, talking about it and trying to decide what it needs. There is a quality in the polar bear's gaze that people who have seen it up close return to again and again. The eyes are dark, a deep, warm brown, almost black, and they are small in the context of the bear's large head. But they are not dull. They are attentive. They track. They assess. The bear looks at you, and something looks back. Something that is evaluating, considering gathering information through those small, dark eyes, the same way it gathers information through its nose and its ears. There is no fear in that gaze. There is no aggression either, necessarily. There is just attention, pure, undivided, animal attention directed at you with the full weight of a creature that has never learned to pretend otherwise. Polar bears are being fitted, in some research programs, with cameras attached to their collars. These critter cams, as they are sometimes called, record the world from the polar bear's perspective. Low to the ice, wide-angled, following the bear's gaze, as it moves and hunts and rests. The footage is remarkable. You see the ice from ground level, the texture of it, the cracks in it, the small variations in surface that are invisible from the air. You see the approach to a breathing hole, the bear's pace slowing, the camera lowering, as the bear's head drops to focus on the dark circle of water. And you see the long, patient wait, minutes passing, the camera steady, the world holding still, around the single focused point of that breathing hole. One of the unexpected things that the camera footage has revealed is how much time polar bears spend resting. Between hunts, between swims, between long walks across the ice, polar bears rest. A lot. They lie down on the ice or in the snow, and they simply exist for a while. Not sleeping necessarily, but resting. The camera might record an hour of the bear lying still, occasionally lifting its head to smell the air, then lowering it again. The Arctic is not always dramatic. Most of it, most of the time, is quiet and still. And the polar bear, who has been shaped by that quiet and stillness, is perfectly comfortable with it. Resting is not nothing. Resting is the preservation of energy. For the moment, it will be needed. Resting is a kind of readiness. In certain parts of the Arctic, polar bears and Arctic foxes are not the only animals sharing the ice. Snowy owls hunt there. Ravens follow the bears. Wolverines, on land, will sometimes investigate the remains of a polar bear's meal. The Arctic is not a simple ecosystem. It is intricate and interconnected, even in its apparent emptiness. Remove the polar bear from this system, and the effects ripple outward to the foxes that follow them, to the seals that lose a predator, to the ice itself, in ways we are only beginning to understand. An ecosystem is a whole. Pull at one thread, and everything else moves. The aurora borealis, the northern lights, is most visible in the Arctic during the polar night. It appears without warning, sometimes in a thin band of pale green, at the edge of the northern sky, and sometimes in vast, rippling curtains that fill the entire horizon, with green and purple and white. It is caused by charged particles from the sun, interacting with the Earth's magnetic field and the upper atmosphere. A beautiful consequence of the same magnetic field that the polar bear may use for navigation. The bear on the ice below and the lights in the sky above are connected by the same invisible force without either knowing it. When you look at a map of the Arctic, you are looking at a place that is mostly ocean. The land masses, northern Canada, Alaska, Russia, Norway, Greenland, circle the edges. The center is water. And over that water, for much of the year, there is ice. A floating raft of ice, several meters thick in the oldest regions, covering an ocean deeper than most mountains are tall. The polar bear lives on the surface of this, on the lid of an abyss, walking on the frozen boundary, between air and deep water, between the world it can survive in and the world it cannot. That boundary, the edge of the ice, is where polar bears are most alive. Where the ice meets the open water, where the seals surface, and the currents bring up nutrients from below, where the sky reflects in dark water and the ice reflects in dark eyes. That is the center of the polar bear's world. Not the vast blank interior of the pack ice, not the beach in summer, but the edge, the place where two worlds touch. There is something to sit with in that. The idea that the most alive place is often at the boundary between things, between known and unknown, between solid and fluid, between the safe and the deep. The deep ocean beneath the Arctic ice is one of the least explored environments on Earth. We know more about the surface of Mars than we know about the seafloor beneath the Arctic Ocean. The polar bear, walking on its surface, has no idea of the depth below it. The dark water dropping 3 to 4 kilometers to a seafloor it will never reach. It knows the ice. It knows the top layer of water, cold and dark and full of seals. The rest is below knowing. And that is enough. You do not need to know everything to live completely in your part of it. There are models that attempt to predict what will happen to polar bear populations in the coming decades. They are built on projections of temperature change, ice coverage, sea ice extent, seal populations, and the bear's capacity to adapt. The models vary in their degree of concern. Some project significant population declines by the middle of this century. Others suggest that some subpopulations in some regions may persist for longer if emissions are reduced significantly. All of them agree that the relationship between polar bears and ice is the central variable, that the future of the animal is written in the physics of the atmosphere and the chemistry of the ocean in ways that none of us fully control. And yet the bears are here now, alive now, hunting now, nursing their cubs in warm dens in the dark of winter. The future is real and important and deserves attention. But so does now. So does this moment. The bear sleeping on the ice tonight. The cubs warm in their den. The ice holding. The world turning. The long Arctic night. Slowly making its way toward morning. Everything we have talked about tonight. The fur and the fat and the patience. The breathing holes and the long swims. The cubs and the dens and the slow spring. The ancient relationship with the ice. All of it adds up to something that is more than facts. It adds up to a life. A particular life, in a particular place, shaped over hundreds of thousands of years, into something uniquely itself. The polar bear is not a symbol. It is not an icon. It is not a poster. It is an animal, breathing, hunting, sleeping, dreaming, playing, raising its young, in a world of white and cold and dark water. And it has been doing this for longer than our species has existed. It will be out there tomorrow, and the day after, walking the ice, smelling the air, sitting beside the breathing holes, in that great, patient stillness. The world will carry on its complicated business, and the polar bear will carry on its simple one. Finding the next meal, finding the next resting place, finding the next good patch of ice, where the seals are moving. Simple, focused, alive. As you rest now, in the warmth that surrounds you, in the dark that holds you gently, let the image of the bear stay with you for a little while longer. That great white shape, moving slowly across the ice. Those enormous paws, placed with such care. That nose, always working, always reading, always quietly certain of something. Your breathing is slow now. Your body is heavy and warm and resting. The thoughts that seemed important earlier have moved further away. You can feel them receding, like the sound of something on the other side of a door that is slowly closing. The bear is still. The ice is still. The Arctic night is doing what it has always done, holding everything in cold and dark and silence, keeping it safe, keeping it whole, letting it rest. You are being held too, by the darkness that has settled, by the warmth that surrounds you, by the quiet that has gathered in this room while you have been listening. There is nothing you need to do. There is nowhere you need to go. The ice holds. The bear sleeps. The world turns, without asking anything of you. Close your eyes, if they are not already closed. Let the breath come and go, without you directing it. Let the body do what it knows how to do. Somewhere far to the north, a great white bear is breathing slowly, in the dark. Its fur is warm. Its heart is slow. The ice holds it. The night holds it. The world holds it, gently, And you are held in the same way here. Let yourself go. There is one more thing worth resting in before sleep takes you entirely. It is not a fact exactly, or not just a fact. It is more like a thought that comes quietly when you have sat with an animal long enough. The polar bear has been alive on this planet for a very long time. In geological terms, it is new. We said this near the beginning. But in human terms, it is ancient. It was living on the ice. Before the pyramids were built, before the first city was founded, before writing existed, before any human being had found a way to leave a mark on the world that another human being could later read. While we were learning everything, language, fire, tools, mathematics, music, the polar bear was already out there, already on the ice, already perfected, already exactly what it needed to be. There is no hierarchy in that. No suggestion that one kind of existence is better than another. Just the quiet observation that the world has been holding many kinds of life at the same time for a very long time, and that we are only one of them. A remarkable one, but one. And the polar bear is another, remarkable in its own way, complete in its own way, deserving of the same sense of wonder that we sometimes reserve only for ourselves. The ice is old. The bear is old. The cold is old. And the night that holds you now is part of the same old darkness that has held every sleeping thing since long before there were names for any of it. You belong to that. The bear belongs to that. We are all, in our different ways, resting in the same dark, held by the same night, breathing the same slow breath of a world at rest. Good night. And thank you for being here, quiet, still, with the bears on the ice, and the stars above the Arctic, and the long, unhurried dark of a night that asks nothing of you at all. The science of polar bear thermoregulation is worth understanding a little more deeply. When researchers first tried to explain how an animal this large could stay warm in -40-degree air, they looked first at the fur, the layered, hollow, transparent hairs that we have already described. But the fur, as impressive as it is only part of the story. The fat plays an equal role, acting as a continuous, self-replenishing thermal shield. And then there is the countercurrent heat exchange system in the polar bear's circulatory system, a network of blood vessels in the limbs that allows warm blood flowing out from the core to transfer its heat to cold blood returning from the extremities, so that the paws and legs stay just warm enough without the body losing too much heat through them. It is a beautiful piece of engineering. The body as a heat economy, allocating warmth with extraordinary precision. Polar bears have a layer of guard hairs on top of a dense, woolly undercoat. The guard hairs repel water and wind. The undercoat traps air and holds it close to the skin. A thin layer of insulating warmth between the cold of the outside world and the warm dark of the body. In very cold weather, polar bears fluff their fur slightly, raising it away from the skin to increase that layer of trapped air. In warmer conditions, they let it lie flat. The fur is not static. It is adjustable, responsive, a living part of a living system that is always fine-tuning itself to what the moment requires. The polar bear's skull is longer and more narrow than that of other bears. This elongated profile is well suited to probing through seal breathing holes and to reaching into narrow spaces in the ice and snow. The jaw muscles of a polar bear are enormous, capable of generating bite forces that can crush the skull of a ringed seal in a single motion. But those same jaws, in the context of a mother with her cubs, are gentle, used to groom the cubs, to carry them when necessary, to nudge them in the right direction, with a care that contradicts everything you might expect from jaws of that power. There are researchers who specialize in the acoustic world of the polar bear. They record and analyze every sound a polar bear makes. The huffs and growls and low vocalizations, the sounds cubs make when separated from their mothers, the particular calls that accompany mating behavior. They have found that polar bears have a richer vocal repertoire than was previously understood, that there is more communication happening in sound than casual observation suggests. Most of it is low and quiet, not the dramatic roar that people sometimes expect from such a large animal, but the soft, specific sounds of creatures saying things to each other that matter. Polar bears have been seen engaging in what can only be called tool-assisted food acquisition. In several observations by multiple researchers, there are accounts of a polar bear repeatedly pushing a large rock or chunk of ice toward a walrus, apparently attempting to stun or threaten it. Whether this is truly tool use, in the same sense that crows use tools, or dolphins use sponges to protect their noses while foraging, is debated carefully in the scientific literature. What is not debated is that it has been observed by credible witnesses more than once. The polar bear may be doing something that we have not yet found the right framework to describe. That is one of the most interesting places in science, the place where a fact exists, but the theory to explain it has not quite arrived yet. In years of very high sea ice, polar bears can be found far from their usual ranges, pushing further north, following the ice as it expands, hunting in areas that are normally inaccessible. In those years, well-fed bears are reported in better condition than usual. Heavier, with cubs that survive at higher rates. The ice, when it is there, provides everything. The ice, when it is not, takes everything away. The equation is that simple, and that relentless. The oldest polar bear skull ever found was estimated to be 130,000 years old, as we mentioned. But the molecular clock of polar bear evolution suggests the lineage is older still, perhaps going back 250,000 years or more, to a time when the world was cycling through ice ages with a regularity that shaped everything living on Earth. The polar bear emerged from that cold. It is a child of the ice ages, a creature born of long, repeating winters and the relentless pressure they placed on the animals that tried to live inside them. We are past the last ice age now, or between them, depending on how you look at it. The polar bear carries the ice age inside it still, in its fat, in its fur, in its extraordinary capacity for cold. Thinking about that now, the weight of it, the age of it, can feel like holding something very large and very old in your mind. The mind is good at this, actually, at holding large things gently, at resting in the presence of deep time without being overwhelmed by it. You can feel the age of the polar bear, the same way you feel the age of a mountain or the age of the stars, as a kind of expansive quiet, a broadening of the sense of what is real, a reminder that the moment you are in is one small point on a very long line. That is not a frightening thought. At least, not right now. Right now, in the dark, lying still, it is a restful thought. You are a small and temporary thing in a large and ancient world. And that is all right. That is more than all right. That is exactly as it should be. The bear on the ice tonight does not know what year it is. It does not know about ice ages or climate science or conservation agreements. It knows the cold. It knows the smell of the seal. It knows the sound of the ice breathing beneath it. It knows the particular weight of its own body and the way that weight is held by the frozen sea. Everything else is beyond it, not because it is not intelligent, but because it does not need those things. It has everything it needs already, in its body, in its senses, in the ice under its feet, in the breath going in and the breath going out. You have everything you need to. Right now, in this moment, the breath going in, the breath going out, the warmth around you, the darkness that is kind, the rest that is already beginning, gently, even now. Let the polar bear go now. Let the Arctic go. Let the ice and the cold and the breathing holes and the long patient waits drift away from you into the quiet, Let the image of the great white bear grow fainter and softer, and further away, until it is just a brightness at the edge of your mind, pale and still, and peaceful, like snow, on the far side of a dream. Everything is quiet now. Everything is still. The world has slowed. The night holds everything in its soft, dark hands. You do not need to do anything. You do not need to be anywhere. You are here. Just here. Breathing. Resting. Going. The bear sleeps on the ice. And you, gently, finally, sleep too.